Ha!
Ah!
It's a snowing.
It is snowing hard. I don't know how
Ow!
many inches you have down there, but we're at about 3 or 4 right now.
Oh man, I'm at 10 inches. Oh, I mean snow. Yeah, snow. Man, I could not
Yes,
let.
what else are we talking about?
We're talking about the slide rule I have back here. Come on, people.
There you
No,
go.
I'm looking at the gauge out there. The gauge reads 5 inches on the gauge with another 1.5 inches on top. So we're at 6 inches out there easily. Glad my wife bowed out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be looking out there and going, I don't know what's happening. Hope she's okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to see, but there we are on the patio out there.
Oof.
Yeah. I'm like, got the big bright light out in the back on the patio back there, and I'm like, well, that's the thing.
Ugh. So, what is your New Year's resolution for art for this coming year?
We're gonna finish easily. We're gonna finish episode 1. Hoping that I can get through maybe even episode 2. And that's where I am.
Okay, so let's actually, you know what? We should actually do a year in review. How do you think you did this year?
I got out the door. That legitimately makes me happy.
Like, what were you planning for this year?
I don't think I had a clear plan when I entered this year. Because we were still COVID-y. Things were whatever. It was just unpleasant.
Yeah, I think we were playing kind of for cons and things like that. We were playing things by
we were
year.
planning on getting back into the cons. Hey, Donald, I hope for God's sakes you are at home and warm and staying out of this mess. No poker tonight, man. No poker.
Yeah, avoid going out in this crap.
We are momming you hard right now. We're like, dude, we are taking care of you, man. We got you. We got you. Oh, good. Well, maybe not good, but good. So yeah, my New Year's resolution is you know what? I can probably just write this in here. I probably ought to. Episode 1. I think my New Year's resolution, last year's resolution, was just to simply survive. Pretty much. I don't think I was ready. That's good. I'm worried about you, Donald. Should I be worried about you? So, yeah, I think I'm just typing this in while I'm at it. I can't type and talk at the same time. It's weird. Anyway, so in this instance, I was kind of doing the. I'm going to turn that off temporarily and flatten these two. There. And then turn this one on. Sorry, I'm suddenly making my life complicated for reasons. There, that works. All right. So yeah, when we started this year, man, where were we? I mean, the greatest thing about this is, technically speaking, we can just go to YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, we're here somewhere on YouTube.
Yeah.
We could go back to the January episodes and see if you and I sat there and said, "What the hell are we doing, man?"
I think we did.
I feel like we did too.
You know what? I am going to
Do just that.
do just that.
I may do that as well.
GS Davis Art.
Sure. That's where I was
Is that
broadcasting
the
from.
YouTube channel?
Yep. Should be. Of course, this would be a great time to discover that that's exactly what I'm not doing right. But yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm broadcasting right now. So we got to go back quite a ways, though, because we broadcast twice a day.
Your last video was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's under live. You have to click the lives.
Holy, we have so many live videos.
I know. I'm scrolling back even as we speak, going, "Oh God."
Is there a way I could search by date?
I don't know. Coffee guy and sometimes friends. Coffee George guy and sometimes friends. Well, we're getting there.
Yeah.
11 months ago. Happy New Year. Streamed 11 months ago. Let's see what we got.
To stream the impossible stream.
Okay, well, still messing. We don't have music. It says me. Nope. No. Brent is like, it's funny. The first thing I say is that my office is super chaotic. Looks nervously around his office. Apparently, this is a thing I do yearly. Like, I'm looking at this going, well,
And hey, you're still rigging up the cats.
yeah, they were kind of making a commentary earlier today about me when I was redoing this. And they were like, well, you'll be redoing it again in 2 or 3 months. And I'm like, well, maybe, but this time I really just wanted to clean it up because I had now a full episode on it and really kind of wanted to, clean it up and make it look nice. I don't know. I see your name is on it. I'm working on maquettes, but I don't see you in here on this first one.
It looks like a morning show, but then again, I was coming
There was
on
no
more in the morning.
At the very beginning, there wasn't any evening show. This is the work day, I think.
Right now, you're hugging George.
That happens a lot. Monday, Tuesday, 3D Wednesday, it's Friday work day. So this was a great idea until we realized how hard it is to do this.
Yeah.
Artist check-in Friday. Maybe that's it. The Friday of. Man, you want to talk about things that have changed?
The entire like everything.
Right? I'm looking at what Pepper's on the first Friday there after the year started. Pepper's on and live, and like he's at a different angle of that room. Nothing's changed. Do you know? Yep. So welcome to year 4 for us, by the way, because we started doing this broadcast in December of 2019. So we're rolling into year 4 of this show, which is why there's 400 million of these.
Yeah. And then it became worse when we started going twice a day.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I'm now starting to go, well,
I'll figure it out later.
Yeah, I'm spending all my time watching this, and I come back and Donald and Bob's here, and Bob and Donald are talking, and I'm like, well, look at all the stuff I've missed. The good ship, George. The good ship, George. All right, I'm getting back into here. So I have the rough script for these two written out already. I feel
This
like
doesn't sound like music. This sounds like a cell phone ringtone.
hello, hello, hello. No ship in the fleet purrs like the UMC George.
Anyways, what's your thoughts for this coming year?
Like I said, I'm gonna get episode 1 clear, and maybe even episode 2. I think I could probably reasonably get through episode 2. That's 3 more issues. It should be a whole. You're gonna get 3D print of Sergeant Better Spec. I have a 3D model for them. It's not like we can't do it.
Yeah, I think my big thing was going to more cons and maybe trying to get a comic done for conning. That didn't come out right for conventions.
You con man, you.
Is phrasing still a thing? Because phrasing.
Right? Phrasing. All right.
But I think that was my big thing, was I wanted to get an issue out of something.
You have quite a few issues of things going, though. Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Like, I've blown that out of the water. Like, I think I came into this year wanting to get one more comic for the table and just kind of getting a little bit more merchandise for the table and trying to do more with cons. And then this year went to hell. But I definitely got more comics.
Yeah. There we go. I've been writing up the script here. I just write it straight in the book in the page. It works. She can't sleep, so she comes in, finds Tom, and she's like, "I really need to find a solution." And Tom says, "Maybe blow up the planet." And she goes, "Man, went straight to burning Atlanta, didn't you?" And he goes, "I'm an engineer. Everything looks like a hammer." Don't talk to your engineers about tactical things. They're just gonna blow it up. A t-shirt with the caption, "I have issues."
So this fits perfectly with a video I just saw recently. This guy's he's living in his van, and he had his van break down. And it was during the cold snap here, but he's in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, so they were hitting temps of minus 40. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And minus 40 is minus 40. It doesn't matter if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit. That's where they meet. And so everything in his van froze. And
Okay.
so finally, they get it. He gets his van in to get it repaired, and he's talking to the mechanic, and he's going through his foodstuffs. He pulls out this frozen can of carrots that is slightly bulging on the top. And he hands it to the mechanic and he goes, "Okay, what do you think?" And the mechanic looks at it, hits it on the table, and goes, "You're good. Just throw it in the microwave for a couple of seconds." He's like, "No, don't do that."
Right. Mm,
Trust him for what he tells you mechanic wise. Don't trust him for cooking.
right.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer. Everything looks like a hammer. Or is that a nail? I mean, I figure he probably really doesn't actually use hammers very much. He uses,
That's not
hammers
true.
or something.
If you ever listen to Adam Savage goes, "Everything eventually becomes a hammer.
Everything
Not
of
everything is a hammer."
yeah.
So I'd like to think that even in Starfleet, or not Starfleet in your case, everything would become eventually a hammer, because sometimes you need to beat the part into submission. While screaming Russian parts, American parts, all made in Taiwan.
Yeah, plenty of examples would get a bigger hammer. So, yep. So she comes in, she says, "Can't sleep. No, I need to find a solution." And he goes, "Maybe blow up the planet." And she goes, "Man, went straight to the burning Atlanta solution, didn't you?" Because I'm an engineer, everything looks like a hammer. Or is that a nail? And she starts smiling. She smiles, but she's looking at the bubbles in her coffee. Then she goes, "What would happen if we were to put blah, blah, blah particles into the star?" And he says, "Gravity dots? What good would that do? It wouldn't stop ships. It'd just make for a fun, bumpy ride." She goes, "Okay, but what if you were in space?" He goes, "Oh, it'd be like flying through marbles." That's good. That's pretty clear. It makes like a good thing going on here. Cool. Then she says they'd have to slow down. Or he says they'd have to slow down, yeah, out of in space. So normal speed. He goes, "Where are they?" "About 3 light years out." "Oh. So, I mean, depending on when we do this, in normal space, it'll take like 3 years to get here, give or take. Give or take. And the next page is, "Wouldn't our guys also take 3 years?" She goes, "Well, we lucked out. The Commonwealth ships are coming in through the gravity tail of the system. Our guys would come in through the front. So if we do this, it'll burn out our in-space engines." She goes, "We'll get an extended shore leave." He goes, "How long do we have?" "Well, I mean, the sooner we do this, the farther out they have to travel." I'll get to it. That seems to cover that scene pretty well.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It smacks of that wonderful scene from Out of Gas that I love so much, where Mal and Wash are yelling at each other on the bridge of the of the Serenity, and he, it's like, Wash is like, "What am I supposed to do? We've got nothing. We're way out in the middle of nowhere. You told us to be out in the middle of nowhere, and we're out in the middle of nowhere." And he goes, "You should just do something." And Wash is like, "Do something like what?" And Mal goes, "Like divert the nav sats to the whatever." And he goes, "Yeah, because college pranks are fun whenever you're stranded." you know, I love that scene because then he's like, "Yeah, but," and he goes, "Yeah, because nobody would ever stop for us. They just have to figure out, do they have to dig the signal out of that mess? They have to come to a complete stop." And Mal's like, "They would." And he goes, "So I should do that." And he goes, "Yeah, you should." And it just feels like that really was a. Oh yeah, Con Man was awesome. Speaking of Con Man, there's another beautiful little short made one out there.
Yeah, this year has definitely had a lot of chaotic energy.
Yep. Yeah, Donald, the equipment that changes weather, though, isn't doing this. That's a different thing. Sadly, it's not. We intentionally cannot seem to do very much about changing weather. It's when we unintentionally change weather that things go south.
What's going on?
And he says that 57 countries have equipment changing the weather, but that's mostly aluminum seeding, cloud seeding, which means that it's temporal. It only affects the cloud that they're seeding. Maybe, but not on this scale.
Yeah,
these
this is
these weather bombs are coming in because of a lack of yeah, that's seeding clouds. This stuff came from um, imbalance of temperature over the North Pole. That's what causes these.
yeah, Yeah, this is everything we were warned about in the 80s and early 90s that would happen, that you're freaking too much out about,
Yeah.
and now it's starting to come true.
Yeah, NCAR was talking about this in the 80s. I was up at NCAR when they were talking about this in the 80s. I was half listening and half ogling their Lockheed Electra. Always ogling that Lockheed Electra. I mean, I wish that was the case because it'd be so easy to undo. Just tell people to stop seeding clouds, but and you're not wrong, Donald. I mean, a small change. I mean, it's called the butterfly effect, and it is real. Yeah. The problem is they didn't know whether it would cool or warm. And that's because, from their point of view, especially in the 70s, what they could see was the conditions on Mars, which was a CO2 atmosphere, and the condition on Venus, which was a CO2 atmosphere. And so they weren't sure whether we turn super cold like Mars or whether we turn super hot like Venus. And what it turns out it's all dependent on the core and what the core of the planet is doing. We didn't quite get a good idea of what was going on in Mars's core until literally about 10 years ago. And so, yeah. But when you seed clouds, Donald, you only affect that cloud bank. It doesn't affect other clouds. So, and whether this is a good or a bad thing, I'll leave this to you. But the chemicals you use to seed that cloud comes down in the rain. So there you go. I mean, just kind of that problem. I don't think that's a good thing.
Also, I am so happy I did not go anywhere with Southwest for Christmas this year.
Right. Ooh, talk about a meltdown. Oh. One of my buddies is stuck in Raleigh, although she's back. She's on her way back now on United, but I think she has spent an inordinate amount of money getting back here.
Yeah. And there's no guarantee she'll have her luggage when she gets back here.
Right. She was
or if it's even anywhere accessible.
Right. Yeah. She apparently had to rent a car and drive around. No, man. Just listening to her. She made friends, though. So she was pretty happy because she made friends, but that's the kind of person she is. So that all fits.
Yeah, because it's not the other passenger's fault.
Right.
They're just as screwed as she is.
Right. So, well, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be like, cool. Guess I'm just start making friends. That's what I'm going to do. You know, it's like, let's get started. Might as well start chatting with people and having fun. Airline situation's really rough. Yeah, Donald, I'm not. I don't mean to dismiss you, man. problem we've got with the whole situation with our climate is that there were people who knew about this in the 60s, and they were saying, we should do something, and people just kept not listening and not listening. And now things are starting to happen, and everybody's still amazingly not listening. And I can't believe that. I mean, like I said, I remember being at NCAR in the 80s, and they were like, how people who aren't but Donald, they're dumping 2 or 3 tons of aluminum a year per country. We're putting out something in the order of 150 billion tons of CO2 every year. Really don't think the aluminum's the problem. And that's just like the US. You add China in, and China is just cranking out the CO2. Although, just heard a news report, they are starting to shut down coal and oil reactors or oil plants in China. So they've decided that they're on board now, and they're cutting back on it too, which is a good thing. So, yeah, 57 countries. Yeah, but the volcanoes, our Earth has been dealing with volcanoes forever. That's not the problem. We've got 2 problems. One, the things that scrub CO2 are trees. And we've been deforesting some of our biggest areas of trees. And those are the ones that take CO2 and make them into O2. And 2, we are releasing a ton of carbon dioxide that has been trapped in rocks, as in oil, into the air. And that's a cycle that the Earth does go through and has gone through in the past, but it's taken 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 years to make those cycles, and we've done it in 100, which is a shock to the system. Which is why we're getting sporadic weather patterns, because we've shocked the system effectively. So we get these weird... they're not anymore. That's what I was saying. China is decreasing now. India isn't on board yet, but China has decided that this is a imminent crisis and that they're causing it. And so China has joined, which is a sign, because China is notorious for cheap human life being relatively cheap. So, but yeah, I can't find it now. There was once a Landsat picture, and it's the one that I've never been able to find again. I saw it in NCAR, so I saw it physically in NCAR, and it was a Landsat picture of from an infrared camera on the Landsat, and you could see these streaks of black coming from the power plants. And it was really, really clear, because carbon dioxide is opaque in infrared. That's why we have a problem. Infrared is what generates heat. That's the wavelength of light that makes heat. That's why an infrared light warms things up. And infrared's what generates heat. And so when you put out CO2 is opaque to infrared light. And so when you use a Landsat and you're using the IR filter on it, then you can see where the CO2 pockets are. And it was these really black streaks. Right? I know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not expecting miracles out of China. I'm just proud of them for acknowledging that they're causing the problem, personally. Yeah, kudos. You joined the show about 12 months, years late, but hey, you joined. Good job. But yeah, I've never been able to find those Landsat pictures ever again. They were like smoking gun level obvious.
I wonder what coal mines impressed those.
Right? I mean, I saw them. I saw them at InCar. And that was in the 80s, in the 80s and the 90s. I saw these pictures. We had the technology to see it clear as day. And I was convinced at that moment because I was like, oh, right? Because I mean, it's straight up, right? CO2 blocks IR. IR makes heat. You can go to Lowe's and get an infrared lamp and it will cook your food. I mean, it's like straight up. You plug it into a light switch or a light bulb socket and it will cook food. I mean, it's like that's what IR lamps do. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And CO2 is opaque to IR. So that means any heat generated by the ground is bouncing off the CO2 and coming back. I mean, that was like a straight up 1-to-1. It made total sense. And I've never seen it since. Oh yeah. Yeah, Bob, I'm with you. I'm glad to hear that they're trying. But yeah, start cooking people. The problem is with IR bulbs, you can't tell that you're being cooked if they're true IR because your eyes cannot detect infrared. And so usually what they do when they make those bulbs is they bleed. So they're red and infrared, so you can see them. Otherwise, you turn it on, you'd never know you were being baked, which I think is what happens with a lot of people in marijuana. Ha! I wish for more water. I am not drinking any tea at this point in time because it'll just keep me awake. So I'm going to go downstairs and get more water. I'll be right back.
All right, see you in a few. Which kind of luminescent bulbs are you talking about? Oh, Donald, that. Oh, the thing with the water, the insufficient water is happening here in Colorado. Colorado and 3 or 4 other states were told to start cutting back on the Colorado River for consumption, and none of the states wanted to cut back. Well, here's the thing with the incandescent light bulbs is they use a lot of energy, but part of that has to do with how we California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado were all told that they need to start backing off the Colorado River.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them wanted to.
So you know why? There is a really complicated water law system in Colorado. Like remarkably complicated and weird. I had a client who was a real estate school, and I spent time making real estate animations on that school. And one of them was on land use and water rights. And oh my God, they are so complicated. Like the law system that was set down in 1850 here in Colorado on water rights, and they still hold today, is effectively like the person who is the furthest downstream has the most rights, sort of thing. And it's so weird. Um, so technically, by our law, California has all the rights to our water because they're the most downstream. And like weird, I mean, it's not that simple. Like I'm oversimplifying, but it's like that kind of level of bizarrely complicated and twisted and weird. I mean, the water rights laws here are one of the reasons why we couldn't have rain collection for the longest time, because technically you were stealing the water from downstream if you did that, and downstream had the right to the water. And that's why we couldn't have rainwater collecting, which was completely bizarre because all of our water went into drainage into sewer drains effectively, and were rolled out to sewage, which was even weirder, which is why we got rid of it finally. We got rid of that law because it wasn't actually helping anybody. Yep. Well, and that's the thing. And that's, by the way all law is, water rights law, are on the west side of the Mississippi. On the east side of the Mississippi, it's completely different. But all of us out here on the west side have to follow these weird, whoever's at the end of the run has the rights to the water laws, which is why we're going to run out of water here in Colorado, because Nebraska and California and Arizona and Nevada all have more right to our water than we do by national law. But of course, what's really going to happen is we're all going to figure this out.
Hopefully.
Well,
I'm a little bit pessimistic about how well we're going to do that.
I think that as soon as people start actually dying of thirst, I think somebody's going to go, wait a minute, what the hell are we doing? You know what I mean?
I hope.
Well, you might be right, but John McCain, really? Huh. Wouldn't have pegged him to be in that one, although probably. Because he was from Arizona, yeah? He was out of Arizona. Something really weird about Arizona. Like, they produce the weirdest senators. Because one of my target senators that I'm grumpy at, because part of the reason that we are where we are is because of this one particular senator, is Barry Goldwater, who's also out of Arizona. You mean fought for Arizona to get our water? Is that what you're saying? Goldwater? Oh man. Whoo, Dougie, do I have an entire list on Goldwater. Oh my goodness. He is my second most hated senator right after Nixon. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Okay, gotcha. Goldwater. Barry Goldwater in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, got hold of the idea of using marketing companies for politics. Yeah, Nixon-esque diatribe. You know how it goes with me. You get me on Nixon. Nixon screwed up the space program. I am never going to forgive that man. I don't care. Whatever, Watergate. Yeah, whatever. He screwed up the space program. I have my priorities, people.
And that's when the rant that never ends started.
No, Goldwater was the first to realize that if he could get, he had to deal with the two types of Republicans that he was dealing with, because before 58, we had a very weird map politically. Like the Republicans were mostly our liberals and the Democrats were mostly our conservatives, but there were four different parties of it. So there were two types of Republicans and two types of Democrats, the liberal and conservative Republicans and liberal and conservative Democrats. And then JFK got in there and really screwed up the entire political spectrum, because he was a Democrat and liberal, which was weird because most of the Democrats at the time were conservative. So we had a lot of party flipping going on with JFK at JFK point. This point caused a rift going on in the Senate, and there was a fracturing of the parties. And Goldwater needed to, the Dixiecrats. You've heard about the Dixiecrats. Goldwater really wanted to consolidate power up. And so he brought in marketing companies and found out that the best way to do it was to drum up fear. Specifically, fear of the other party. Not anger, fear. There was a big difference between the two, because before that, there was your classic, the Democrats are terrible people who will just, whatever. It didn't really matter, but it was mudslinging. It was normal mudslinging. And Goldwater was the one that really got us into this fear-mongering mess. And his protege was Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan in 68 was the one that started the whole thing with socialism will destroy the world and socialism is Russians, which is a complete destruction of that, because we had democratic socialists and they wanted to trash the Democratic Socialist Party. So they wiped that out by getting the Republican Party to be afraid of the Socialist Party. Those socialists then folded into the Democrats and they became liberals, progressives. And so during the late 60s, early 70s, we had this slow consolidation of all of those parties into two. There have always been just two real major parties, but it's all these little stragglers were causing problems in there because they were pulling votes one way or another. And it was really difficult because they were moving things around. And with the moving of JFK, everything switched. Our Democrats became liberals all of a sudden, and our Republicans became conservatives. And it was so weird. Right. Well, it's because he was conservative. He stayed conservative. He's always been conservative. He just was a Dixiecrat style conservative. So in the 50s, he was a Democrat because that's where the conservatives were. And then when he got to this truck, just drove. We're going to turn off his lights. It's weird. So when he got into the 60s, he had flipped parties, and he was with the Republicans so he could stay conservative. And that's when he started doing his infamous speech in 68, where he compared the Russians to socialists. That wiped out the Socialist Party, our democratic socialists.
Hey, Guy.
Uh-huh.
This is really funny. Guess what's trending on Twitter right now as you're talking about this?
If you say Barry Goldwater, I'm going to freak out.
No, Dixiecrats.
Oh. Well, it doesn't surprise me. That's one of my big gripes. I'll be sitting there saying, we got to, we have a band of conservatives that have always been the same way. And I'm not talking about all conservatives, because of course not, you've got a variety of conservatism, but you've got that one thread on that right side where they are just really don't like people of color. They don't like women, yada, 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 that kind of thing. And, every time that gets brought up, people throw at me, well, yeah, but it was the Democrats that hung black people. And I'm like, yeah, because those were still those same conservatives. There's still that little thread over there on the right side. It's the same people.
Because they don't want to admit that the party's flipped.
Yeah, the party's flipped. You can see it clearly. All you need to do is look at the votes for Eisenhower and then the votes for JFK. I mean, the entire United States was red in Eisenhower, who was, and it was funny. All of the United States is red, except for the Deep South, which was blue. Then you see JFK, and it's literally the colors flipped. The Deep South is red, and the rest of the United States is blue. It was so weird. It's so bizarre. Anyway, yeah, well, and it's like a straight up thing. It's so weird. I'll show you something fascinating about that here, because I've got it. So let's see if we can find them. Here we go. Because here's your 1956 electoral map, right? So voting for Eisenhower versus Stevenson, right? And you can see this is the way it went. Blue was here in the South and red was everywhere else. Then you move to 1960, and this is Kennedy versus Nixon, right? And then the next one is 64. I mean, that's a literal flip. Johnson versus Goldwater. And you can see it literally flipped. The colors just completely flipped within 8 years. Hey, Patsy. And this is pretty much the way it here. Well, and there's a difference between Republican and conservative, because and like when we talk about conservative versus hard conservative and social, like a lot of the conservatives I meet are fiscal conservatives, but social liberals. Like, they don't care about homosexuals. They don't care about, you know what I mean? Like, that's none of their business, and they're fine just keeping out of it. But they'd like for us to please cut back on the money spending, and they feel like the Democrats spend way too much on programs and things like that. That's totally respectable. I feel like we need that kind of stuff. We need that kind of balance in there. Those Republicans, I've got absolutely zero problem with. I've got no problem at all, because that's the kind of stuff we need. We frankly need that in our Congress. We need a little bit of balance. We need people who are willing to offset, because if we were all liberal, we'd go frankly out where angels fear to tread. So, and it's one of those things. But yeah, I love showing these maps. These maps are my favorite thing, because we go from 56 to 60 to 64, and you can see the parties just flipped right there, and they all flipped on Goldwater. And you can see what happened. It was Johnson versus Goldwater, and it was because JFK got killed. And so Johnson came in on JFK's legacy, right? So this is the last time we had an independent be strong in there too. I'm not going to disagree with you there, Bob. I'm not going to disagree with you. And I wish you were wrong, but you're not. You ever seen the heat map on the votes? I love this one. Hey. Oh man, he was crazy. This is the reason why people will do the maps, and they do the maps showing how many counties vote red versus how many counties vote blue. But if you do them by population, this is what happens. These spikes of population. I find that fascinating. Patsy's trying to change the subject, rightfully so. I concur with Patsy. That's a badass picture you're doing there.
Thank you.
For both of those things, Patsy. Because I really will go on. Bob, sometime you and I just need to go do coffee. We'll talk politics then.
I'm just sitting here drawing my anthro.
Yep. And I am not complaining, Patsy. Man, I think the funniest part is that Bob and I are like, LBJ was a jerk. Goes to show you why you should never vote party lines. Because Kennedy's vice president was nothing like Kennedy. That's fair. I don't know if we have any laughs right now. I mean, oh wait. You know how to make wait. You know how many times you have to tickle an octopus to make them laugh, right?
No, I don't know.
It's tentacles. You might have noticed that there are 2 more than the arms of an octopus, right? Because 10 is more than 8. You know what that is, right? Those last 2 are. Those are testicles.
I'm going to shoot him. I'm going down to Aurora.
You're going to kill me? Kill me right off.
It's going to be a homicide right on air.
You're gonna bring hummus? It'll be a homicide. I like hummus actually. kind of dig hummus. It's good stuff. Oh man, I'm sorry. No, I'm really not sorry. I really should stop trying to apologize. It's not true.
I know it's not true. That's the worst part.
I am not even remotely sorry. Agreed, my friend. Agreed. And get us banned for freaking. uh,
We went from talking about the new year to politics just like that.
right? Well, it's better than talking about the snow. Oof. Boy. That's all right. Arvada Aurora starts with an A. Train. So, my wife was going to go out dancing tonight. The thing that we have decided to do for New Year's is she's never really been terribly good at putting on makeup. She doesn't have the patience for it. So I was like, I want to put on makeup. Can I put on the makeup for you? And she's like, sure. So I went and bought all because she goes to goth night. So I got all these like really nice dark eyeshadows and some silvers with some highlights. And I was putting on all of these things and it was like really fun. I got to put on all the makeup and everything on her and everything was really cool. And then it snowed like a son of a gun. But then I messaged my nibbling and I was like, "Hey, here's what I got with your aunt on, how far we got up with your aunt on this one. So it looks pretty good. I'm actually pretty proud of myself." And they were like, "Yeah, we'll go because they're really good at makeup." So I was like, "I want to go get makeup," and they were like, "Yeah, I'll go with Aunt Maya." It was like, "No, you're going with me. We're going to go get this." And they were like, "Oh, sorry." And I'm like, "You get me on the gender roles all the time. Now I get to get you on the gender roles." Yeah. I was gonna, but that's all actually that was the battle plan, but I don't think I have the right makeups. So I'm gonna have to go differently. But what I really was working hard on was the eyeshadow going to the outsides being dark and then on the insides being silver with highlights and like white highlights in the middle. I was really working on that one. That was where I was going. And then I'm taking the eyeliner and running it out with points on either side. You're welcome. It's funny when my nibbling was 6 or 7 or so. I was like, someday I'm gonna do makeup with her, and that'll be a lot of fun because I was like, this would be great. And they were much better at makeup than I was. So, and then they were not really big on that, and so I was like, aw. And then all this time, my wife really hasn't been a real big makeup person. That's just not something she does. Not a problem. It's just not something she does. which is totally fine. But then recently she's been going to the club, and the club is always goth night. And I'm like, hey, would you be interested in me like messing with the makeup thing? She's like, sure, why not? So that was a lot of fun. I had a whole bunch of fun. It was like drawing on here, except on people. It was remarkably entertaining. So, all right. Wow.
What?
Just the wind blew some of the snow off the boughs of the tree over there. There's a tree who's reaching over and it's almost touching my balcony. Probably have to trim it this spring, but for right now, it's kind of pretty. Into it. All right. Now we're on this next scene, breaking it down. It is Excelsior Day today, just so we're for the next few minutes anyway.
I don't know what that is.
It's Stanley's birthday.
Ah.
Which for me means that, of course, I've been posting pictures of the USS Excelsior, which is Captain Sulu's ship, because I'm me. And it fits. Excelsior still fits. A Halloween party for the Omake, huh? That'd be fun. Well, yeah, because I mean, I had lovely connections with Stan Lee through the comic book world, but truthfully, where is my heart, people? We all know where my heart is. I actually don't have an Excelsior, do I? Oh, Excelsior was like his battle cry or something. I mean, from the 60s, so long before Star Trek or anything involved in Star Trek. So it's not, he didn't, he didn't, uh, he didn't, take it from, that was his tagline, his battle cry, which was fine. I can respect that. I can totally respect that. Okay, so we're here with our cat, sitting at a campfire with his cat. Should I make it a cat fire? No. Cat and Alex are talking. We got kind of like, what is the cat trying to say?
Wow, my anthro work has really improved.
It really has. I like that piece. It might have something to do with the almost 1,000 pieces you did last week or last year. I mean, you're definitely putting in the hours, bro.
Yeah, I looks like, oh, yeah, this folder can't be that big. I wonder how many files are in. Over 1,800 files.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. I actually was doing that with an unsorted file earlier today. It's just got a whole bunch of stuff from over the years compiled in it, like just the detritus of my life. And I went through and just ran a, in this folder, find scar.jpg, and then went to bed and took a nap because it was thinking. And I came back and it had something in the order of 200,000, files. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I really wish my Drobo hadn't died.
Yeah.
Because that would have been interesting, because that had everything that I had ever done. I had saved into backup. And now I don't have access to those files.
Is it because it's broken or dead or what?
It's completely dead. I have to buy a new one in order to get the hard drives back up that has those files on it.
But the hard drives are fine, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, good.
But the structure of the Drobo drive is such that it shares the files between the various hard drives.
Right, it's a RAID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it went, hey, this is way too old. I'm just gonna die. And force you to upgrade.
Yeah, but if you got them, we might be able to do something about that. That's at least a plus.
Yeah, I'd like to get those files back. Because I would have stuff from 2000 on here.
Yeah, that's what I was finding. Looking back through my D drive out here, and this unsorted file thing, all these wild things that are just out in the middle of nowhere. I wonder if that's even Lavon's phone number anymore. Probably, maybe. Right. Odds are good.
But yeah, like this year, so I'm also setting up my art folder to be different this year.
Mm-hmm.
For 2023. is I'm going to set up like the sketchbook by month. So there's going to be inside sketchbook right now. Everything just kind of gets dumped in there. I'm going to have one. I'm going to set up one for January, one for February, and do it that way so I can keep track of, what was I doing in January?
Sure.
Because like the hard part I had was when it came time to do the art versus artist. I wanted to grab a good selection throughout the year, and I just had a lot of trouble.
Yep, I'm with you.
But yeah, as far as art's concerned, God, I did a lot this year.
Yeah, I know. I actually, like I said, my biggest thing is I'm very excited that I managed to get the I managed to get a thing out. You know what I mean?
Well, you did really good this year too.
Yeah, I mean, I did really good. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying. I was very pleased that I got a comic out. I mean, Bellatrix Rising is now live. It's real. You know.
Well, and technically you got two comics out because you got the little prologue tester comic.
Yep.
Don't
Yep.
sneeze at that 15 pager, and then you got the big comic out.
Yeah. Yeah. It is absolutely true.
I mean, for you and I, this has been an excellent year for art.
Oh no, Patsy's dog. I'm sorry. So, Bob's trying to get me back on target here, and I got sidetracked by movies. Um, yeah, Patsy, I'm with you. I'm with you. So, yeah, Bob, to your statements over here, and not to detract from Patsy's side, that's what we've got. We've got Alex here at the fire, and she looks up, or she throws something into the fire because whatever, and she's just, then she looks over, and that's what happens. Here we get, she sees the cat. The cat sees her. She says, I wondered when you'd show up or something like that. So do you think I made the wrong choice? And the cat then over here in the corner says, no. And then we're here. Starting another page. This is where I was when I said I need to redo these background pages because I couldn't, because I knew that no is a drop frame, that frame that we talk about where you drop the frame so that people will throw the next page. Patsy, how long have you had the dog? What's the dog's name? Well, honor said dog. I realize that the lag between us reading what's coming up on the on the screen there makes this into the most chaotic ADD thing, right? Because like we're talking about three different things at the same time. Right? That's what I mean. It's like everything's slow. Sorry about that.
And part of it is stream delay caused by Twitch. So,
Well, they're all on Facebook, but still, yeah, it's still part of that sort of delay. That there's like a bucket delay.
yeah.
Yeah. So don't try to bear with us here, Patsy.
And on top of that, like if you see me working on this screen, you see any work on the like art for me, I'm fully dedicated over there because I only have one screen between my system. It doesn't recognize my Wacom as being a separate screen.
Yeah.
So the screen I'm on is the screen I'm on.
Right. Which usually is why I'm the one talking and not Can. Or responding, I guess I should say.
And yet I try to respond because I want to be more part of things.
Sure. That's not a knock.
But sometimes it's like, okay, give me a moment and I have to switch over to see what was being said. I guess the other thing from this year too that I gained is I actually made more money with my art than I have for any other year combined.
Yeah.
Because I, particularly towards the end, I was starting to get a lot of commissions in this year, which I've never really had before.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not much. It's not, oh, it's going to blow my numbers out of the water, but still, I've never had numbers like this.
That is pretty cool. I agree.
And I really wish that I had this before Elon Musk came and destroyed destroyed Twitter right when I was starting to gain attraction on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Part of the reason why I don't usually write on air is because writing for me is 5 minutes of staring off into the distance and then 2 seconds of writing something down and then staring off into the distance because I'm listening to the conversation between these two characters evolve.
Don't look at me. I think a great way to look at my art is the goblin screaming at the weather app
Yeah.
on my phone.
How are you doing in there, by the way? You look like you're back in your normal zone. Well, I guess it's only just below freezing, so it's like still 30.
Yeah, and I have the heater behind me.
Oh, because you're not fighting over it anymore.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh, and that helped so much. And like the only reason I went back there before Christmas was because it got so cold I needed both heaters at once to fight the cold.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was at one point minus 15.
Yeah.
Fahrenheit. Minus 15 Fahrenheit. Minus 22 in freaking Celsius.
Actually, even lower than that. It got down to minus 24, I think, is the official number out of Denver.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody kept talking about how, well, all those EVs are going to be dying. And I'm like, we only drove our EV. That's all we drove. Because that EV is like glued to the road in this crap.
Yeah, actually, our my car, which is gasoline, it had a lot of problems getting going in this.
Mm-hmm.
But the Prius, which is a hybrid, had no problems whatsoever.
Because it's heavier. But also, with the Leaf, they've got what's called the e-pedal, which is this, you can switch it on and it effectively drives like a go-kart. So, you press the pedal and it goes, you let up on the pedal and it stops. You know what I mean? Like, it's really straightforward, but because of that, you can really make it so that the takeoff is smooth and the stopping is smooth. You know what I mean? Because you can just gently control exactly how fast you're going, and there's no jerking and herking around like you would have with a gas car, because it's not shifting gears and it's not, so it actually was really, really nice. It was very elegant on the snow. So and I let it sit in deep freeze on Thursday and Friday outside, and I mean, it's down, but it's down from 275 to 226 on miles at 100%. So it is suffering from the cold a little bit. The battery packs are suffering from the cold a little bit. But I mean, legitimately, my gas car it's at a half a tank of gas. That's 140 miles. So nobody will freak out about that, So that's kind of like, well, it all depends on how you look at it, I guess. But it was a good car. It is a good car. Excellent car. And the original Tamerlan things I was working on. Tamerlan videos. At one point in time. I appreciate that, Bob. I think people get hung up on range. I mean, like I said, my car's got 140 miles left on the tank. Nobody's thinking anything about that. That's a half a tank of gas. And everybody's like, yeah, that's fine. But man, you bring the EV down to 200 miles and everybody's like, oh, I'd never be able to handle that. I'm like, you're plugging the car in every night. Where are you going that you need 275 miles every day? I mean, heck, 275 miles is to Cheyenne and back. That's
Yeah.
not your house and back. That's all the way to frickin' Cheyenne. and back. So, I mean, are you driving to Cheyenne and back every day? Because if so, I could see that maybe that's not enough mileage. But even then, man, get out of the car.
Well, and I think it's a little bit of it would limit me, because what if one day I just wanted to hop in the car and start driving somewhere?
Right.
And so people are scared that they would lose that ability.
Yeah. I mean, I get that one, but I wish they'd just say that, not EVs suck because.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's totally cool. If that's what your problem is, fine. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with that. But, you know, I'm looking at this going, honestly, it's pretty much where we were in like 1910 or 1920 with gas cars. You know, had to plan it out. Heck, I remember my grandparents planning out their driving trips in the 50s and 60s, talking about that, having to plan their trips so that they could go to places that had gas, so that they wouldn't run out of gas in the middle of nowhere. Which,
Mm-hmm.
in fact, much more of a threat in the 50s and 60s. You know, so range really isn't a thing per se. We're in the same spot today that we were in just the 60s with gas cars, and evolving fast. But like somebody was talking about their 2013 Leaf, which just had 70 miles of range when it first came out. They live in Las Vegas, and it's now down to 13 miles on a full charge because the heat has killed the batteries. And I'm like, okay,
That now that one is a little more
dramatic.
and you can understand it. But
Yeah,
they're also in Las Vegas.
right. Well, that's what I said. I said, okay, so move to Alaska, buy a car, and then don't put a block heater on it and see if you get anything. You know, and then report back to me. I mean, like if you're going to put a vehicle in an extreme climate, you can't say that's because of gas cars. You know, my car wouldn't start yesterday because it was minus 80 degrees outside and it wouldn't start. So gas cars suck. You know, nobody would
Yeah.
say that. They would say, get a freaking block heater for your car. You know,
Well, and like in the case of this guy, he lives in his van in Alberta.
yeah,
His car would not start because it was in minus 40, and the gas he put in it was bad gas and wasn't ready for that kind of temperatures.
right, right.
That's not a shot against the car.
Nope.
It's just sometimes you run into that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my problem. I don't mind if you don't want an EV, that's totally acceptable to me. What I have a problem with is people saying all electric vehicles suck because of. Well, these are edge cases. In general, my
Yeah.
RV has been better in almost every box than the gas car. But I
I
think,
think there's a little bit of people are afraid because
Mhm.
they're afraid of something new, so they want to find every case they can to kill it because they don't want to have to change.
and Bob, I actually that I have a lot of opinions there. Personally, I'm with Dan. Um, and the reason is because 287 out of Amarillo through the top part of Texas is A, usually under construction, although they've gotten better. But from Amarillo through, say, Dalhart or maybe Dumas, which for the fact the place is called Dumas is just really funny to me. Actually, pretty much everything from Amarillo into Wichita Falls is a whole bunch of little teeny cities, and all of them are 35 miles an hour, and all of them have a Texas cop waiting behind a billboard with a speed gun. Drives me absolutely bonkers. So I'm kind of with Dan on this one. I-70 to Salina and south is boring, flat, obnoxious, and 80 miles an hour the entire way. So that's generally where I go. But there is dissident in the Davis clan. My sister prefers the route you're talking about through the pass. It's a much more interesting view. You hit Raton, you head out towards Clayton, and go across to Amarillo, and then down and through 287, and then all the way over until you get to Wichita Falls and then into Dallas. So that's my sister's preferred route. My mom was the same way. She preferred that route too. My dad and I preferred going out across Kansas because we like to go faster. Needless to say, Bob, that particular discussion, it's kind of a bummer I wasn't involved in because I've driven both of those routes easily 100 times in my life, easily. So, shrug. That's my 2 cents. South is more interesting, but full of cops. West is less interesting and much faster. So, not like you get there any faster, but if you do go out across Kansas, remember that you have to go through the Kansas Turnpike, which I think is only $1.50, but you should still at least make sure you have change for the toll booth. Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, like I said, if you're not in any hurry and you're watching your speed, you get to go through places like Quanah and Goodnight and places like that are kind of cool. And you get to go through Childress and Dumas and Dalhart and like all these little cities that are really actually kind of interesting. So there's nothing wrong with the South Route. I just have a lead foot. And frankly, that's bad. So there's that. Just to say. How we doing out there?
I think this is turning out pretty fun.
I like the camo.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got to just do something about doing this. I mean, really, honestly, if you go out that way, Hayes is pretty much the last plausible location where anything exciting happens going out across I-70 until you hit Salina. And even when you hit Salina, it's not, you know. So, yeah, personally, though, that's my thought. Driving a string. That's awesome. But just so you know, Bob, I took that route back from Houston because, of course, Houston to Dallas is the same both ways. So it doesn't matter. If you take the north route, it's Houston to Dallas, then up to Oklahoma City, then over to Salida, then out and through. If you take the south route, it's Houston to Dallas, and then Dallas to Wichita City, or Wichita Falls. Either way, I'm going to Dallas. So, yeah, I like the higher speed limits. I like it's the open road. Honestly, also, you're in the interstates are always going to be slightly safer, even though you're at a higher speed. Just because you don't have people on the roads, you don't have farm trucks, you're not on those FM roads, the farm to market roads in Texas, things like that. And I mean, you also spend far less time in Texas, but you spend more time in Oklahoma.
I'm detecting a
Which one's worse?
I'm detecting a weight here.
Oh man. So you guys have been taking the 287 route since 93? Oh man. That was brutal one year. One year Mariah was driving and we hit one of those and she was just, oh my god. She doesn't like that to begin with. She likes to turn Amarella. Yeah. Shrug. She doesn't like driving in the first place. I mean, she doesn't like driving as much as I love driving. We've got a great relationship. She's meh on driving, and I am super jazzed about driving, which makes a great combo because she's totally willing to turn the wheel over anytime and just let me have it. You drive. But I feel like we lost Patsy somewhere along the line. I feel like the telephone effect may have made her mad. Is the way I kind of feel like. I hope that wasn't the case. So anyway, Amarillo, yeah, Amarillo can be brutal. One time we were going through Amarillo and a snowstorm hit. They don't have any plows. They don't have any way, so nobody knows how to drive in snow. So they just all had everybody was sliding around. All these guys and these Mustangs around me, and I'm like, oh, God, you guys are going off the road. That does make a difference. That's fair. Because if you're picking up people from RMF, that makes sense. Good thing you're not picking up QuaCk people. Just saying.
Huh?
RMF is Rocky Mountain Fanimation. It's the Springs anime group. QuaCk is Fort Collins Anime Club. Because see, Bob and I come from the DAI Club, which is Denver Anime International. That's the Denver group, for lack of a better. This is the '90s stuff. Back in the '90s, when we had the anime clubs that were here on the Front Range, there were pretty much 3 major clubs. All 3 of them made NDK. So it was like NDK is the successor of these 3 anime clubs, but these clubs are all successors of a group that was called the Cartoon and Fantasy Organization of Denver, or Seafood, which was funny. And there's a lot of complicated history, which starts with a guy named Michael Burgess back in 1980. And it's complicated and interesting. And luckily, I have written it all down because otherwise, I'd never remember any of this stuff. But that's why we have a museum at the convention, because the history of the anime clubs is actually there. Speaking of a long story, we're coming up on the end of the show. So Bob likes to start a long story right now.
And I'm almost done here.
Yeah, I'm not liking where I went with this scene, so I'm going to back out of it and come at it tomorrow and see what happens. Ah, crap. And guess what I screwed up? That's all right.
Not bad for
a human.
Hey, you have to admit, this year you finally got me to slow down.
I did.
Of course, now I'm putting in so much goddamn detail.
Right?
Well, it is midnight.
Ish.
I think it's time for us to head
Bow
on.
out. Yeah, I'm saving everything and parking everything so that I don't have to worry about crashing it out. I hope Patsy's okay. I feel like our communication failures were not what she needed tonight. So that's all right.
Well, and given what happened, that's very easy to do. I know the way grief affects the brain firsthand.
Yeah. Hate to say this, but 2021 and 2022 have not been kind to either you or I in that respect.
Yeah.
So there's that. So, all right, Bob. I think we got Bob still on here. And we got a lot of people out on your side if you look on your Twitch page or your Twitch channel. There's some people following you there, which is cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We're out of here. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. Well, maybe not bright and early. I'll see you at 9 because I'm not getting up any earlier than that. It's winter break. I don't get this very often. So,
and it's currently snowing, so.
Right? It's snowing, and I have to get up with the kid. Wife doesn't have to go to work. I'm not going to get up before, say, 8:40. Yes, stay warm, and
I will.
And I will see
you guys
later.
Have a nice night.
Right? Keep your eyes on the stars. Good night.
Bye.